This is Mrs. Johnson reaching you from Tyee. Am I at Tyee? I don't know. The sunglasses. It is beautiful outside. In fact, I'm actually going to talk to you a little bit about Newport. Or some of you will be going to other schools. So I would like to talk to you about school in general, and then high school transition in general, and then maybe some specific information with my special guest about Newport. I want to echo Mr. Lilly and Miss Nan's care for you and care for your families. We miss you so much, even though we're not at Tyee. Tyee isn't made up of the building only, it's made up of our staff and our students, and we miss you greatly. And it's going to be really hard to transition to high school and say goodbye. We want to make sure that we're supporting you every step of the way, and we want to make sure that we just get a chance to say goodbye. So we'll be working on some stuff to make sure we can do that, and Mr. Lilly will be talking about that in a little while. All right, so the first question I have, and I'll introduce my guest in just a few minutes. The first question I have to answer is, will schools open for next year? I should have a prop of a crystal ball. We cannot read the future right now. And in some ways, it feels like things are changing by the minute. So we don't really have an answer about what school is going to look like next year. We know that we have leadership in the state and the school district that are going to be making some plans for us. Our primary focus is that everybody stays safe. So we have to make sure it looks safe for you and it looks safe for all our staff at the building. Please stay up to date on the school district website with any plans about what school will look like next year. The next question I have is it possible that the school will be postponed for next year until it's safe? Yep, just answered that one. And if school's postponed, will we have online school to start, or will the summer be shorter? I don't know about you, but I don't want a shorter summer. In fact, this is a great time to remind you, in the summer when it's beautiful outside, use your sunscreen, please. This is from your former health and PE teacher. Important to wear sunscreen, and we're not going to shorten summer. The reality is there's a lot of factors that would have to happen for us to be able to do that. So you can guarantee you're going to have your entire summer this year. Our ultimate goal, though, is to make sure everybody's safe to come back in the fall, and we'll make some plans to do that. We got several questions about orientation. I think it's a really great time for me to kind of move inside to what is the commons at Newport. I'm going to be speaking about some specific Newport stuff, but I know some of you are going to Sammamish or Interlake, maybe one or two of you going to Bellevue, and I know some of you are moving out of the district. In fact, I know a couple people that are going to a private school. So when we talk about Newport, you just think about the high school that you're going to go to, and if you have specific questions, I can try to answer those as well. Orientation for high school will depend on which high school you attend. I do have some information about Newport, but you'll receive updates and communication if you're staying in Bellevue School District, and that will come over the summer. We usually have orientation that last week of August, just like you did at Tyee. The next question I have is, can we graduate on Animal Crossing or Club Penguin? I have to tell you, I didn't even actually know what these were, and so I apologize, and I did some learning of my own. Mr. Lilly even informed me a little bit about the Animal Crossing, and I encourage you to check out the shirt he's wearing when he gets back on the camera. Mr. Lilly will talk about the promotion events and end of the year stuff later in this segment. Okay, almost time to introduce you to our guest, our guest from Newport specifically. So the question we are going to answer right now is, will Newport musical auditions occur online? And we even expanded that a little bit to talk about musical auditions as well as music in general. And this information is specifically for Newport. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Altenhoff, Assistant Principal at Newport. Mr. Altenhoff, to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Tyee. This is Mr. Altenhoff, Assistant Principal at Newport High School. a home that I know and love, and welcome you all to come on down to be the next contestant at home of the Newport Knights. So for the Newport musical question, if you are interested in the musical, which I hope you are, there is a course called the musical production class, or just production class. And so the idea is you have to sign up for that course in order to take part as a performer in the musical. If that's something you're interested in, please check in with your Tyee counselor to confirm that you've signed up for that production class. If those of you that are playing band have interest in one of the jazz band levels, there will be auditions which happen in the fall, and those are currently planned for in-person auditions. That, of course, could change if there is some change to going back to the start of school next year. That's really it for music and the musical. So I think we'll go back to Ms. Johnson for some of the more Tyee related questions.
Thanks, Mr. Altenhoff. Oh, now I'm outside at Newport, and again, watch your eyes. You need some sunglasses when you go out there and it's so bright. Okay, a few more questions I have. What about if this coronavirus thing is still happening? And what about orientation? We answered that a little bit ago, but then how might it work? And so we said, we're communicating with the high school. The high school is doing a ton of planning. So when they figure out what they're going to do, we'll make sure it's posted on our website and our information, and they'll probably email you as well. So stay tuned on that email. The Newport High Link crew and ASB is working on plans to do any of the work online if necessary, but in reality, they'd like to see you in person. So they're hoping to make that decision soon and figure out what's safe for everybody. Okay, I had some really good questions about the computers. We're all on a computer right now, and typically over the summer, you don't have those and you turn those in. So will we have to turn in computers? Yes, likely that's going to happen. Stay tuned for more information, but we need some time to clean up those computers, not with the Lysol wipes or anything necessarily, but really to make sure that they're functioning for you in the fall. So it takes a little time to do that. Stay tuned for more information on that. All right, another question about how will this look like on our resumes? I'm gonna guess what that person meant is, what would this look like if we were trying to apply to things like a program outside of school, or what would it look like on our high school transcript, or what might this look like if we're looking for a job? Since the whole world is dealing with this right now, I think we're going to be really lenient about how this looks, but you would just explain it. So this time I took online learning, or these were the grades because of this. So just make sure you explain yourself if you're doing anything on a resume. A really great question about, what about college? And what if we have to do online school as a freshman? What will that look like on our transcripts in college? And again, I'm going to tell you, the whole world's dealing with this, so we will make a plan. We will make a plan, the colleges will make a plan, everything will be okay. All right, one question, probably my most favorite question on this sheet is, what's next year going to look like, but what about specifically 9th grade PE? 1 second. All right, 9th grade PE, or PE in general, is probably one of my favorite classes. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but a long time ago, 20 plus years ago, when I went to college, I majored in kinesiology, and so I taught PE and health. I gotta tell you, 9th grade PE is so awesomely fun, and there's a lot of opportunities, and if they have to do those online, they will, but my hope is that we'll get to do them in person. All right, we're gonna go back to Mr. Altenhoff to talk a little bit about orientation, because he might have a little bit more information for us about what orientation looks like at Newport. Again, if you're going to another school, take in this information, but realize that your other school might be a little different. Mr. Altenhoff, back to you.
Nice to see you again. So yeah, the question was, will there be a late orientation and school tour when we physically go to Newport? While I would hope that our tour might consist of a chocolate river and a boat tour down it, we have not yet installed that at Newport, though. As facilities lead, I can tell you there are plans in the works for such quality entertainment. Until that time, there's something called Link Crew. Many of you might have siblings at Newport and know about Link Crew, but Link Crew are upperclassmen, 11th graders and 12th graders that love to connect with the younger students in Newport and make sure that they become the best knights that they can be. And those are the students also that lead your traditional orientation activities. As of now, there is no change to orientation because we don't yet have information on what August would look like. Going back to that date, orientation typically happens in the last week of August. So myself, fingers crossed, I am hoping that that all happens as normally scheduled. Should it not, however, and orientation needs to be different, Link Crew will still be very, very active in showing you around the school, getting to know you, helping you become the best knight you can be. And typically this would happen in small group tours, hosting after school social events, and as well doing like pre-concert meetups or pre-sporting event meetups. For example, ice cream in the parking lot before football games, something like that is a common activity that Link Crew could do. And all of those are ways in which to get you oriented with the school and allow you to make new friends and hang out with your current ones. Back to you, Miss Johnson, for our next questions. Or, yes, I believe we're going back, right?
Mr. Allenhoff, you can continue. You got a couple more questions there, and then
I just saw that. All right, I'm happy to stay with you. So another question is about credits. How will credits work for classes that are high school level? So far, is the school year next year predicted to be normal? Will aspects of the curriculum next year be adapted to the assumption that we learned a little less this year? So all courses in high school are ones in which you earn credit on your high school transcript. That is, in high school, you get a half credit for one semester and you get 1.0 credit for a full year. All grades next year as a ninth grader, all of those grades will be shown on your transcript. As well, all of those grades on your transcript will calculate into your high school GPA. So whatever school looks like next year, whether it is normal, the old normal, as in show up, go to your classes, see your friends at lunch and in passing, all of that good stuff, whether it looks like that or it looks something like we have now in the digital learning environment, however it looks, it is best for you to work to the best of your abilities every day. Ask questions when you have them, get help from teachers when you need it from the first day of school so that you can really start off on your best foot and make sure that you are on the trajectory, the path through high school that you want. And next question is, what if you want to change your classes for next year? So this does happen from time to time. Students have a need to change a class, and I will quickly share there is a difference at Newport that we really hold true to. There's a difference between a need to change a class and a want to change a class. Oftentimes, students might want to change a class because their best friend has got a certain social studies teacher and they really want to be in that room with their friend or friends. That is a really important want. However, we cannot change schedules for those wants. There are, however, needs, and you need to change your class. And that happens because of various errors. There are computers that build schedules, and as we all know from when your computers have crashed, sometimes computers go into an error state and it causes problems. So Newport grants schedule changes during what's called back to school days. Back to school days is a day where over several hours you will come into school, you will get your schedule, you'll get a locker, you will get your ID card, you'll do a whole lot of things that are integrating you into Newport High School. At that time, as you look at your schedule, we can make schedule changes for courses where there is an error. For example, here's an error example. In 8th grade, you passed algebra, you did so well in algebra, you got an A in it, congrats to you. But your schedule at Newport has you listed to take algebra again. Y equals mx plus no way do I want to take algebra again. So I need to meet with my Newport High School counselor and get a schedule change to correct that error. And that would be a great example of a need for a schedule change versus the want. And that will be done in person on back to school days. If we do not have normal back to school days, that will be an online process through conversations with your counselor. With that, my garage door is opening. So I thank my wife for that. And I think we can send it over to Mr. Lilly. Is that correct? Nope, Miss Johnson. All right, let's send it over to Miss Johnson. Bye, Tyee.
All right, oh my goodness. Oh, you got me. My microphone is actually a flashlight of my kids. Okay. It's so loud here at the Newport football game that I think what I heard was Mr. Altenhoff say something like a need versus a want for changing schedules. I just want to tell you that's the same thing we do at Tyee. So it will be very similar. You either need to qualify a want or a need for a schedule change. You know, Tyee, we miss you. We actually were even talking about attending some of these football games or activities in the fall to start a chance to get to see you because we didn't get to finish the year with you. So we'll make an effort to stay connected. Mr. Lilly is going to talk about some year-end events and some other cool stuff. But again, I want you to know we're here for you. We miss you. And if you need us, please reach out. You have our email addresses. We can get on a Teams call with you. I promise not to be so cheesy, but we really do miss you and we look forward to connecting with you. Mr. Lilly.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I am here to give you a little bit of an update on some very important once-in-a-lifetime events and opportunities that we have to close out the 8th grade year and what we are doing as a school and as a community to recognize this important accomplishment and milestone in your lives. So I got some questions to start off here and a couple cue cards to help me stay on track. So this first one says promotion. Are we going to have promotion? Absolutely. We will be having a promotion ceremony, but because of the likelihood we won't be able to do a large-scale in-person event, we are making preparations for how this could be done virtually. We're working with all the other middle school principals and also hearing some great ideas that the high school principals are doing for their graduations to really pull something off that we can do that would be memorable and meaningful. We are looking at a combination of live content, kind of like what we're doing here right now, where you've kind of got to be online at a certain time to get it, as well as some pre-recorded content so that we can involve student speakers and student performers and staff speakers, and we can ensure that every 8th grader is individually recognized. We also want to create something, and we're hoping to be able to do this so that you and your family are able to share it out with extended family, because we know that oftentimes grandparents or aunts or uncles want to come to promotion ceremonies as well, and we want to invite them in to be a part of this unique experience for you and your family. When it comes to things like certificates, we won't unfortunately be able to physically hand those to you, give you a high five, and wish you well as you move off the stage. So we will be looking at producing those over the mail this summer, but we have a tentative date for the promotion, which will be June 18th. And it is something that we want to have set up so that if you want to tune in live at that time, you can. And if it's something that you maybe are busy or have a conflict, but you don't want to miss out on and you want to watch later, you'd still be able to watch it and get the full experience without having to be there at that time. So we're working on it. We will make it happen. Got some great ideas already running with our promotion committee, and I think it's going to go really, really well. Next question I got here is Yearbooks. Are we doing, oh, this is not working very well. Are we doing yearbooks? Yearbooks are going to be published, and we did see that we got the final proof done. We leaned really well into our community, who were able to crowdsource some more photos for us. Our club advisors were able to get us more photos of the clubs, and what we were able to do is basically get a yearbook together, and it's going to be published and sent to us. We're going to get the copies here in early June. So what's going to be really awesome there is that we're going to have yearbooks. Those of you who purchased one, you'll get one. If you haven't purchased one yet, you still can until March 22nd, and you can go to the Tyee website to see how to purchase one. We are just going to have to figure out the distribution piece, and that's where we may need to be creative. We'll be paying attention to the governor's stay-at-home order, and if we're able to, ideally, what we'd love to do that last week of school is set up some pickup times where you or your family could come through and drive through or come by and pick it up, or look at maybe, if it's possible, setting up some different distribution sites in some of the different neighborhoods around Tyee, maybe at like a shopping mall parking lot or an apartment complex parking lot, so that you could we could meet you in your neighborhood to get those to you if it's hard to get to Tyee. So we're working on a couple ideas there, but we want you to know that yearbooks are happening. If you ordered one, they're on the way. The next question I got here says, 8th grade party, is it going to happen? 8th grade party is a PTSA event. I've been talking with the PTSA. They're really talking with various parents and even some students to get a better sense of what would go really well. A party, obviously, you want to have people there. You want to have something to do. I don't know exactly what a virtual party would look like. I mean, I've been online. I've seen what some DJs and music performers are trying to do to entertain an audience. But the whole idea of a party is that you're social with all sorts of people at once. So if we can't do a party, they're definitely exploring some really cool options that would still be meaningful for our 8th graders. So they're looking at a couple varieties of either something fun they can do or something fun they can give to our 8th graders. That would be a lot of fun and something big. So it's possible. And this was floated to me some questions that I got. It's possible we could do something late in the summer. It's possible we could do something in the fall. We're not going to completely put that off. I just don't know if any of you all will be too cool for school and will want to forget about all of these amazing middle school people, because you're going to be a big bad high schooler in a few months. So if there's interest from you all and we're able to put something on here at Tyee, we would love to do that, whether it's something during the day or during the evening, something that we could ideally have all of your teachers be a part of. That would be phenomenal. And so we don't have any plans right now. If we're not able to do something great by the end of the school year, probably wouldn't plan anything for July or August unless it was really, really late in August, like towards the beginning of the new school year. So the idea of doing a reunion or just delaying the party, we're going to leave those on the table. But for right now, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to pull that off in June like we normally would. The next question I got was talent show. Can we still have a talent show, Mr. Lilly? Yes, this is actually one of the events that we really can probably do pretty well virtually. I don't think we'll be able to do something like this meeting here where we're passing the camera from person to person, because a lot of the talents require like pretty good sound quality and some preparation. So we were thinking about setting up kind of a virtual talent show where folks could record video clips of themselves performing their talent and then submit it. And then we would basically put it onto a platform like maybe Flipgrid or something. And that way students could go through and watch all the different video clips and you could see your friends showcasing your talents. One thing I really liked about it is it's going to open, I think, to more talents that don't have to necessarily be done on a stage. So for those of you who are maybe like aspiring filmmakers or animators, you might be able to put something together really cool in a video format and submit that as your talent, rather than kind of traditional singing and dancing and things like that. So that could be a lot of fun, and we're going to plan that for June 19th, which is the last day of school, to have all those up and live. So rather than going to class that morning, you could hop on and check out some of the cool different talents that are there, and we might be able to set up voting buttons, which would be really cool to have it as a contest. Next question I got, are we still going to get report cards? Yeah, those are going to come out in the mail. Ms. Nan kind of covered how the grades are going to look different. They're not going to be quite the same, but if that is an important thing, and if your families are curious whether that's going to get mailed home, it will, but the grades will just look pretty funky on it. You might see an A or an I or an NP or a P, as opposed to those traditional letter grades. So if that's helpful for you, that's great, but definitely we want to make sure that you have that feedback and information. And then one thing I'll say with report cards is that If you are in jeopardy of not passing the class or not getting the A mark in the class, your teachers will be notifying you very shortly. As we're now approaching the mid-quarter mark, it's their responsibility to let you know if you might be in jeopardy. And for those of you who don't get that notification, keep up the great work. Library books was another question I got. So that idea of what if I have something that belongs to the school sitting in my house? Okay, first of all, set it somewhere safe where you won't lose it. Don't put it in that messy bedroom under a pile of sweats and stinky clothes, okay? Any library books, laptop chargers, textbooks, Jubilee sports uniforms, anything you got that you're kind of borrowing, hang on to it. We're not collecting them just yet. But what we are hoping to do is in June is set up a few windows of time where you'll be able to come in and drop things off, and we'll hopefully be able to organize that really well, because we obviously want to do that really safely. If they've been sitting in your home and we're going to hand them off to maybe a school employee, we want to make sure that that's all done very, very safely. The other question I got is, what if I left my stuff in the school? So what about my lockers? What about my band instrument? What about that cool water bottle I left in my language arts class that I want to take to high school with me? So our staff are going to be getting some limited building access here over the next month, so they can go into their rooms and kind of close up for the summer. But for our students who left belongings behind, we're going to be, what I'm hearing is after the staff have had a chance to go in and close out their stuff, we're going to have opportunities for students to come in and retrieve items that are there, clean out their lockers, pick up their band instruments, things along those lines. So please know that we will definitely be having that set up, but we're just going to have to wait and be patient for the time being. And if there are extremely urgent needs, you can email me, but we're pretty much reserving that for very extreme urgent needs. Like, I'll give you an example. Is like if somebody left their prescription medicine in the nurse's office and they don't have any more prescriptions ready to go at home and they really need that medicine, that would be an example of something urgent. But if it's something more like, hey, I left $5 in my locker, I really could use that $5, we're going to have to hold off on that for just a little while. The other thing I got questions about is, can we do anything in person? What about, driving, or, maybe everybody pulls into a parking lot and stays in their car like a drive-in movie? What about a parade? Things like that. As we are paying attention to the governor's order, and I'm hearing from the district, is we're going to be able to explore events like this, but we're going to have to wait. We can't pull anything off just yet. And that's kind of what I'm hearing for all the schools in Bellevue. So we would love to. It is definitely a dream. A lot of our staff would love to. Our teachers would love to. They want to see you as well, even if it's from a distance. And so we'll be definitely exploring that a little bit more as we go. One of the big things I heard from some 8th graders about is the Tunnel of Tears. And many of you know I used to work in a high school for a long time. I'm very familiar with the Tunnel of Tears. You might not believe this, but you or a lot of your classmates will be very sad to leave Tyee. And what we've seen in the past is that last day of school, it's a heavy emotional day. It's a good type of heavy emotional day, but it is. And so in terms of the Tunnel of Tears, not everybody cries. I guess I'm exaggerating, but it is a really fun celebration. And it's a way where we send off and say goodbye. And we have all our teachers line up. We have all our staff line up, and they wave and high five and give goodbyes to the 8th graders. And so we want to find some way to do that. If we can't do something in person, we definitely want to do a really fun farewell send off. And if we need to do that through video or online, we will explore what we got to do. Other questions we got: community service. I know that community service is a requirement in high school. Can I start earning hours this summer? We're going to get confirmation on this, but my experience as a high school administrator is that for the most part, yes, hours before 9th grade, that summer between 8th grade and 9th grade, if you start collecting community service hours, those would count. What I would stress to you is to document those. So keep them logged. I know that Naviance has a way of logging those hours, but you can also definitely keep note of things, get adults to sign off on it so they can verify that you completed those hours, because you don't want to be in the spot next year where you can say, hey, I did 50 hours over the summer, but nobody saw me and I didn't get anything signed or any proof of it at all. So just have some proof ready to go. Last couple questions here. Mr. Lilly, can I come back and visit Tyee next year? Well, as sad as we are to see you go, we are going to get about 350 students to come in and not replace you, but they're going to take over the 6th grade classes. So we're going to be full next year. If you want to come by and visit, please know that we've got school going on, we've got classes going on, and high schoolers are awesome and wonderful, but you got to have an appointment. If you just try to drop in, that's where we unfortunately have to kind of turn into security guards all of a sudden and ask you to go back through the check-in process. So if you want to come visit Tyee next year, you need to have an appointment, and it can't take place during the school day because our teachers are busy teaching. So some of the best ways I've seen this done is for students to make an appointment or set something up, or maybe knowing that we're going to have a lot of kids, 9th graders wanting to come back, we'll set something up for you where your teachers can really be there. What I would also say is that if you really enjoyed your time at Tyee, you've probably seen some high schoolers around the building before, volunteer, sign up through Jubilee. There's a really cool class at one of the high schools. I know Newport has it, called Teaching Academy, where you can kind of learn what it's like to be a teacher. And we've had a lot of Teaching Academy students come back and work there, but definitely look at some of those ways that you can volunteer or do your community service and talk to some of our club advisors and coaches. Another question I got, which was kind of a random one, but an important one, will there be some sort of a tribute? And so that idea of considering what happened this year and how effective and in many ways disruptive and even damaging this was to our community and our globe. I'm really open to that idea. Would love to explore it with some of our student leaders in our ASB. I've worked in many schools where we have used things like placards, murals, other ways to kind of capture and represent a moment in time that was very seminal and important. And I've been in many schools before where I've seen everything from a tribute or a monument to something a little bit more solemn like a memorial. And I'd be very open to setting something on the Tyee campus that kind of represents what happened here in the year 2020 that affected our school community, it affected our local community, it affected our entire globe. So I would be very open to exploring that and seeing what we could put together that would be long lasting, and I think kind of aesthetically pleasing, something that we would want to be there as a fixture for a long time. And then the final question I got is, what are some of the scenarios? What could next year look like if we're still closed? If we're at full scale open, which I think a lot of us are hoping for, and I'm hoping all the high schools are open as well, what this really could look like is, moving forward with the way that things used to be. But there's a possibility, and I'll let you know that our school district is planning for a few possible situations, just not anticipating that any of these things will happen. They just really want to have a plan in place in case any of these things do. So in a scenario where we're open, but then maybe we get to like March again, like we did this year, and we have to close all over again, what would we do in that situation? And I think we can take a lot of the learning we had this year to figure out, all right, here's the plan if we had to do this again next year, if COVID reemerges or something like that. What if we're open, but a whole bunch of families don't want to come to school because they don't think it's quite safe yet? How do we reach maybe 20 or even 30% of students if a bunch and their families are saying, yeah, we know school's open, but we still don't think that we're in a safe situation to go back just yet? How do we have something set up as a plan so that we can still reach everybody? We also have another plan that we're going to explore of like what happens if we're open, but maybe we just serve some students at a certain time. So maybe we don't have all 1,050 students in Tyee at one time. Maybe we just take a smaller percentage and we alternate days and things like that. We'll be looking at some scenarios like that. And then I think finally the last one is, what could that look like if we started off the year continuing with remote learning? So I want to let you know that some folks who are far higher up and far smarter and more advanced and ready to go than me are working to plan and prepare for some of those pieces to be ready. But in this moment, just as a final send off, because we're running out of time, just wanted, on behalf of all of our administrators, a big thanks to Mr. DeMartini, who you haven't seen him on camera, but he's been our producer. He's been the one changing cameras back and forth. A huge thanks to our special guest, Mr. Altenhoff, assistant principal at Newport. We're going to be planning more of these as time goes on. I'm sure we answered a lot of questions, and maybe created a whole bunch of new ones. So we'll be putting out another survey to our 8th graders to see if there's further questions. We'd also love to have some of your ideas incorporated as we're planning some things for the end of the year and as we're getting ready to transition to high school. But just in this time, I really want to stress to you, and I know I've heard this from a few families, your health and your safety are the most important thing. The goal of our classes and the work our teachers are doing is not to replace what you're missing by being in school. It's actually to replace what you would miss if school was closed altogether and we didn't have any classes. We want to provide you with some learning. We want to provide you with some connection to teachers and to classmates. And that's really the goal we're going for. If you are finding yourself running up against a wall like what Miss Non shared, and things are getting tough, and believe me, I think it's tougher to do school now than it was a month ago. I think it's getting tougher and tougher. So when things are getting tough, when you're running up against a wall, reach out to your teachers. You will not disappoint them. You will not anger them. They want to hear from you, and if I can be perfectly honest, they need to hear from you, because just like this is completely new and unfamiliar to you, it's completely new and unfamiliar to them. They don't know if they are teaching you the right way or the wrong way, if they're assigning you too much or too little, if there's too many Teams meetings or not enough Teams meetings. And so please, please, please reach out to them. They want to work with you. They're open to it. We'll be talking a little bit more tomorrow as a staff about what our teachers can do to show and express that leniency, that flexibility, that willingness to meet you where you're at. And they do this every day in the classroom, and because we're not together, it's a lot harder to have that. So I want to just say thank you so much for joining us. If you're joining us this morning, or if you're going to be joining us tonight to watch this, and take care of yourselves. We'll be putting more of these on the calendar from here to the end of the year. I promise they'll be less informational and more fun. We'll get some of your favorite teachers to start making guest appearances as well, so that you can do some little bit more interactive, a little bit more fun things. So on behalf of Tyee Middle School, I just wanted to say to our 8th graders, to our graduating, promoting class of 2020. I know your high school graduation date will be a little bit later, but want to wish you the best spring possible. We're with you. We're going to stay connected. This is not the last time you'll hear from us. This is just the first time. So thank you, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Have a really great day. I'm looking out the window, looking out the windows of Tyee as well. It's looking pretty clear. So go ahead and enjoy that, everybody. And we're signing off. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.